Define irony. Bunch of idiots dancing on a plane to a song made famous by a band that died in a plane crash. My fucking goodness, 25 years later, and this movie is still so fucking funny and so fucking great. Oh boy, let's just get to it. I'm John Renton with the retro review of Con Air from director Simon West. My fucking goodness, I love this movie more and more each time I see it. I do have a few questions that I'll ask during the review, but man, this movie is just such a fucking blast from beginning to end. Nicolas Cage, despite that terrible, fucking awful southern accent, was at the peak of his powers here. The Rock in this and Face Off, I mean, he really was doing some great goddamn action movies after having a slew of pretty damn good performances before. I mean, he won an Oscar for Leaving Las Vegas just a couple years prior. And yeah, Simon West did Lara Croft Tomb Raider. You had to say that because nobody would have known who Lara Croft was if you didn't say Tomb Raider. The Angelina Jolie version, that is. When a Stranger Calls, The General's Daughter, Expendables 2, Skyfire, and some other stuff. The sad thing is I think this might actually be the best movie he ever did, and it's nothing against this movie. It's just sad that he was never able to quite capture this magic. But man, he made a hell of a career off of it, didn't he? It was written by Scott Rosenberg, who did Disturbing Behavior, that I also retro-reviewed, and man, that movie was certainly something. High Fidelity, that had John Cusack, who's also in this. Gone in 60 Seconds, that also had Nicolas Cage and Angelina Jolie. And there's a lot of tie-ins, a lot of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, as it were. Man, remember that fun game? Anybody ever play 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon? I did. I did it at a movie theater, and it kind of made sense since we were all a bunch of massive movie fans there. And also Scott wrote Venom. So if you're not familiar with Con Air, well, what the fuck? Pause this and watch it. It's on Amazon Prime right now. Or, find a friend and steal their DVD or Blu-ray copy. Go some goddamn place and watch it. Pause this review, and I will wait. There, wasn't it fucking great? See, I told you it was goddamn great. Nicolas Cage is in this. John Cusack, who was a lot of fun in this. I mean, and I'm not the biggest John Cusack fan. I really didn't like 2012. He was not even close to the worst offender in that movie. It was just really goddamn shit. John Malkovich as Cyrus the Virus, the most vicious criminal, a poster child for the criminally insane, as it were, that line said in this movie. John Malkovich actually may have stolen the fucking show here. He was so fucking just biting and witty and just evil, but funny. You couldn't help but kind of root for him, even though these are all a bunch of vicious killers. Colin Meaney, who ironically was a bit of a meanie here because he was the evil agent. He was Agent Malloy. He has the fancy car, and he's like he's all like, oh, I have the best position and everything. John Cusack, you're below me. Ha! Bing Rames is also in this. Man, Bing Rames, what a career he's had. Danny Trejo, by the way. Danny Trejo, who is apparently a really stand-up guy, but played a very vicious criminal named Johnny 23. The 23 stands for, it don't stand for murders, it stands for what happens to women when guys take advantage of them. I'm not going to say the word, and please don't put it in the comments. Steve Buscemi was also in this. Or Buscemi, however you actually say it. And, man, God, he was great in this too. I mean, he was great in other movies before, but this was a role that really helped elevate his stock. And McKelty Williamson. I had to write that one down because I didn't want to get that wrong. He plays Nicolas Cage's Cameron Poe's friend, Baby-O. Oh, Baby-O. So, if you're not familiar with Con Air, well, if you didn't pause it and actually watch it and come back, or pause this and come back and watch it, sorry, there's going to be spoilers. Been out for 25 years. Cameron Poe is with his, at the time, pregnant girlfriend or wife, Monica Potter. Whatever happened to Monica Potter? I mean, her name's Trisha here. But whatever happened to Monica Potter? It seemed like she was in this. She was in Along Came a Spider that I also believe came out this same year. She was in, was it Head Over Heels? Head Over Heels? What was the movie Freddie Prinze Jr. that she was in? That might have been it. He was like some kind of weird agent or whatever, and it was some romantic comedy. And she was in a couple other things, and then she was suddenly gone. Like, what the fuck? She was bright, she was adorable. Actually, she was rather hot. But she just vanished. Monica Potter just vanished. And also, a bunch of other people in this. I mean, you could go through the cast and find a bunch of people that are like, holy shit, I didn't realize he was in this. I forgot that some of the actors I mentioned were in this. I mean, I forgot about Danny Trejo, which is weird because Danny Trejo plays a central role as far as like advancing, Cameron Poe being this goody, not even goody two-shoes guy, but a guy that got caught in a situation he doesn't want to, he didn't want to be part of. Basically, in the beginning, there was rap, as Dr. Dre once said. Bet you didn't expect to see or hear a Dr. Dre reference in this review, or in anything by a weird white guy that's in his 40s. So, Cameron's with his wife Trisha. There's some drunk people. He's in his military uniform, just recently discharged. And he gets in a fight with them because they're all drunk dicks. And he kills one by pushing the nose bone right into the skull. And that's bad because it kind of kills you. We kind of need to be fair, the guy deserved it. Really fucking deserved it. But he pled guilty to manslaughter and was in jail for a few years. Met Baby-O, Mr. Williamson, and also like educated himself, was learning Spanish, was keeping in touch with his wife. Didn't get to see his daughter be born. And that was eating at him, but he's finally paroled. And Baby-O was getting transferred to another prison. So there's this big old plane called the Jailbird, and John Cusack's character, Agent Larkin. I used to have a friend with the last name of Larkin. I wonder what happened to him, because that was back in middle and junior high. Fuck, where is the time gone? Always remember to keep up with your friends, kids. And basically, they're going to get on this plane, and all the worst of the worst people are there. Cyrus the Virus, Ving Rhames' Diamond Dog, Johnny 23, Danny Trejo's character, and various others. The Marietta Mangler, Steve Buscemi's character, Garland Green. Garland Green was the name of the Marietta Mangler, which I would like to see that spin-off movie. That would be kind of cool to see. Except at this point, I don't know if you really could do that with Steve Buscemi. This has been out for 25 years, as I've said. But as things go on, these agents, they check all the prisoners and everything's good. And they got everything locked up. They don't have a lot of guns, but they got enough just in case. But nobody else can carry on this flight because they're all dangerous fucking criminals. There's certain levels where they're all locked away. Back, front, middle, front. And then there's obviously the cockpit. Sorry. I can't help it. Anytime I hear cockpit, ha! Anytime I say that, I just can't help but laugh for. I'm a mature individual. But basically, the plane ends up getting taken over because everybody somehow manages to store metal pieces in their calloused hands that the guards don't check. Dave Chappelle's in this as well, and actually barfs up something that's lighter fluid and has a match that's sealed in a pouch that somehow was really sealed because they didn't get wet. He lights an Indian guy on fire, a Native American guy on fire. That's literally what he says. And then the flight gets taken over. Welcome to Con Air. And Poe's all upset. Obviously. Baby-O's also upset because he wants to, he just wanted a good prison transfer and Poe just wanted to get home. And so everybody's stuff is in storage. And they're trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Like, Cyrus's cell, we get the agents going there. We get Larkin going there with a bunch of people. And it turns out there's stuff in the wall, including some weird shit. They can't quite see what's going on, but there's some little diggy thing in the wall they can dig away at. As opposed to not dig away at if you have a diggy thing. Moving on. There are plans. There's the plane plans and stuff like that. And it turns out, oh my God, they've taken over the plane even though there was a disturbance. And the pilot said, nah, I didn't. It's like, there wasn't any disturbance. I don't want to die. What? No, nothing. And then there was also this little explosive device that, well, this one guy opened after Agent Larkin said, don't touch anything. Holy shit. There's also this super decoder thing where he cut out the eyes of everybody at the Last Supper and figured out, meet me in Carson City. I thought it was meet me in St. Louis, but I guess I've got my movie trivia wrong. Or song trivia. But Cyrus' cell blows up. And everybody starts yelling at each other because Malloy and Larkin are like, no, I have this idea. No, I have this idea. And Malloy's just had enough. That's it. I'm going to take care of this. I'm going to take care of this my own way. But Larkin's like, that's my plane. And Harrison Ford suddenly shows up. Get off my plane. Not realizing it's a different movie. What the fuck you doing here, Harrison? And, well, it turns out that Dave Chappelle's deal during this whole thing going on where these prisoners got transferred out, they took the various people that, like guards and everything, and other people that were volunteering to be taken away while everybody else escaped, and the convicts dressed up like these guards. And then the aforementioned cell explosion happens. Dave Chappelle gets caught in a landing gear trying to get back in. Ouch. And he is going to get shoved out, but not before Mr. Poe writes down a message and everything and says, oh, they're landing here because I found out about all this stuff. And Agent Larkin. Then a body lands on his Volvo from like 50,000 feet up. I think it was actually only about 20,000 feet up. But nevertheless, Larkin gets alerted. All this other stuff's going on. This one prisoner, vicious prisoner, notices that Poe was lying about when he said he had 15 years left and was actually paroled. And he had this, bunny, this stuffed bunny that Poe was going to give to his daughter. And he said, put the bunny back in the box. Why couldn't you put the bunny back in the box? Because this guy gets killed. And then Green was transported onto this whole thing at the time. And he's all vicious and whatever. Says two went down, only one came up. He talked about murders and insanity and semantics. And one girl, he wore her head as a hat driving through 3 states. Question, what kind of vehicle was he driving to drive through 3 states and not stop to get gas? I don't know why that necessarily popped into my head. The fact that he was wearing somebody else's, wearing a little girl's head as a hat probably should have taken precedence over that. But nevertheless, they end up getting to this junkyard. It's a Lerner Airfield. That'll Lerner. And they are going to meet somebody else with a jet, and they are going to go away. They're just going to pile in this jet, this little jet that this one guy has, that this Colombian drug lord had something to do with, or South American drug lord, as John Cusack points out. Well, then they end up, Larkin ends up taking Malloy's, very, very fancy Mustang. So fancy, you don't even know. He didn't even have to get in the fast lane to go from LA to Tokyo because they were not anywhere near those. How geography works. Also, it would have been hard to drive to Tokyo from the United States. Don't know if you know this, but there's not a bridge yet, not until the device is complete. So nevertheless, Larkin is there, and he's trying to figure out what's going on here. Their plane crashes. They need a new plane, but they need to get a refueling truck, and they need to get a tractor because they need to pull the thing out. Because it turns out this jet actually isn't there. It's hidden. So they're like, well, let's get this plane out and we'll do that. Look at all these prisoners. They can pull this plane out. They're not idiots. And then Green goes off and hangs out with a little girl that's in an empty pool, a drained pool. Parents apparently were nowhere. Apparently they were at the movies 20 miles away and left their little girl playing with dolls in an abandoned, drained pool. But Poe ends up caught by this guy's goons and gets killed, and kills them rather. Pronouns, pal. And then John Cusack helps him out and says, well, if you can't trust a South American drug lord, who can you trust? And Larkin basically says, hey, I saw your wife and I saw your daughter. And he says, I want to take you to them, but what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to save the fucking day. Now, what he's going to do, the reason that Poe's even still here is because Baby-O is diabetic. So he is going to get a needle and get that vial of stuff, his insulin, and give him his shot. Also, Danny Trejo's character goes back to the female security guard that they have there, named Bishop. Well, then it's actually kind of funny. We go back to Garland Green. I am sick. A girl says, you look sick. I am sick. You take medicine? There's no medicine for what I have. What do you want to sing? Want to sing? And it's like, he's got the whole world in his hands. I think he's just baffled by the fact he should kill, but the girl just accepts the fact there's this vicious killer. She doesn't know what's going on. And then there's this, they're like, the escapees, the attempted escapees in the jet, get stopped because Larkin stops the jet, and then the guy's like saying to him, no, I'm sorry, sayonara, and he throws the match at him, or the lighter at him, and blows him up, and Poe almost gets blown up. And then they're setting up this whole thing, like, where they're going to trap all these cars in between. They're going to trap this caravan, and they're going to kill people. But here are these cans. Here's this valley. Here's our plane. What's that? And it points out, that's a rock. Oh, okay. Simple stuff. Just funny as hell. And then it's going to create an airtight, seal full of lots and lots of dead bodies. But then, even though they have massive amounts of propane and propane accessories, Hank Hill approved, Larkin manages to get a car, or, one of those, like a bulldozer type, and basically get behind. Actually, it's like a plow truck called Mr. Plow. That's his name. His name, again, is Mr. Plow. And he manages to save some soldiers, but not all of them. Danny Trejo goes rogue, but then Poe manages to catch up to him and hit his head into the wall and said, "Don't treat women like that." Which, don't treat anybody like that. What the fuck you doing? And they they're just, they take off on the plane and everything, even though it seemed like things were going to be like, going tits up. But since they weren't able to get all that much fuel, they were going to start running out of fuel. And Cyrus even suspects foul play. Baby O takes a bullet, literally. And then he has the bunny, the stuffed bunny, make a move, and the bunny gets it. Shouldn't work. None of it should work. None of it should work. It's so fucking funny. And they basically, the plane gets shot down, but they had no fuel anyway. And they're going to land on the strip. It's more like a landing strip. Oh, come on. Like I have an audience laugh track that I can put up. And Green is singing, "He's got the whole world in his hands." And basically, everybody gets captured except Cyrus, Diamond Dog, and the pilot. That was called Swamp Thing. Actually kind of looked like him, believe it or not, after the makeup. So moving on from that, we get Poe and Larkin commandeering police motorcycles, because why not? They managed to get to the fire truck that the guys were escaping in. Ving Rhames' character gets blown up. Cyrus gets something stuffed through his leg and he gets trapped, and then he gets trapped on the ladder. And then Swamp Thing gets flooded out of the goddamn thing because they put the hose down there. Basically, they just turn into full-blown action heroes. Shit's blowing up. Landmarks are getting flattened. And then Cyrus ends up getting shocked, put down in front of a concrete thing where the deal just slams right on his goddamn head. Pounds him to pieces. And then the family reunites. They reunite, and it feels so right. And it's all great and everything. Father and daughter, finally meet, and husband and wife are reunited. Happy family days. And then Garland Green's just in a casino, feeling lucky, and he's just rolling. Vicious killer that killed over 30 people wore a little girl's head as a hat through 3 states. And he's in a casino. I'm putting too much thought into a movie called Con Air. It was a blast. It was a fucking goddamn blast. Watch Con Air if you haven't. Rewatch it if you haven't. It's been a while. Agree, disagree with what I said. Like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retlin. I'll see you soon.